Catholic churches respond as the need to feed the hungry surges in the COVID-19 pandemic. Pope Francis's new encyclical and the call for mutual respect for all cultures. And a local priest ready to run even when the Chicago Marathon is canceled. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Hello, I'm Todd Williamson, Director of the Office for Divine Worship for the Archdiocese of Chicago. And joining me remotely and socially distanced in this pandemic is Cardinal Blaise Cupich. Good morning, Cardinal. It's good to see you even if it's on screen.
Well, thank you, Todd. Good to be with you.
Cardinal, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues, unemployment remains high and the need for food assistance has increased. A number of locations throughout the Archdiocese are operating food pantries weekly, providing free groceries to those in need. Now, St. Rita of Cascia Parish in Gage Park is one of them. The priests there shared this video.
When the pandemic started, we just wondered what we could do and how we could help people, especially in our parish because we serve a very needy community, predominantly Latinos who are facing unemployment, who don't have the resources, and so it was our need to be able to respond, and we're able to see the face of God in their need, in their hands and in their hearts, and really as this heart speaks to heart. So Omero reached out to Amigo Foods and asked if they might be able to donate some chicken, and they gave us 5,000 pounds of chicken to give out to the folks. And then as people continue to listen and hear the need, then people respond in kind, and so we have this generous outpouring of generosity this week.
Wow. And I've also noted how there are many volunteers.
Right.
Have they contacted the parish, or have parishioners been seeking them out?
Many people have just contacted us and they want to help. So as we invite people to come, they help pack the chicken and pack the food throughout the week as well. But today people came, families came, students from St. Rita High School came. So just people just are responding to the call to help.
I'm here to receive the gifts that God is providing us because we're in need. They got rice, beans, lentil, carrots, mangoes, raisins, and a whole bunch of other goodies that they're providing us. The church is doing a magnificent job as always. It's up to the people to help out in any way that we can. I'm here for myself and for my mother. My mother's 93 years young. She cannot come, but I share with the gifts that I'm getting with her.
When many people started donating to the food distribution here at St. Rita, I was very encouraged to attend this. And so when I came this morning, I was very taken back by how many volunteers there were from the community to get some kind of nourishment, this time by food, but also we've seen how many people have donated, how many volunteers. And so I've been very encouraged just to see how people have seen this need that has developed in this parish, and then they've responded in a very generous way. I'm very proud to be a part of that in this Augustinian community.
Oh my gosh, Cardinal, what a great service St. Rita is providing for the people during this pandemic.
Yes, and so many of our parishioners are replicating that wonderful practice, and we're able to help them through the COVID Emergency Fund that really has allowed parishes some more additional resources to offer those food pantry services.
I'm not sure that many people know that we have a COVID relief fund.
Yes, and so far we've been able to collect about $20 million so far that has helped not only with food pantries, but also with burying the dead, with also dealing with domestic violence in terms of counseling, helping as well prisoners who are coming out to get them settled. There are a host of other aspects that the emergency fund is helping, and my hope would be we can build on that, and we would encourage people to donate if they're able to.
Nice. I mean, it really raises all the various areas of people's lives that are affected by this pandemic, right?
Without question. And I think that we're probably one of the largest emergency funds here in the Archdiocese of Chicago and in the city of Chicago.
And that's in addition to so many other agencies that help, like Catholic Charities and others. I mean, the need is definitely out there, and the Archdiocese is doing all it can to help people meet their needs.
Well, we're following the direction of the Holy Father, who said that the church has to be a field hospital in the city, and that's what we're trying to do at this moment.
Oh my gosh, Cardinal, speaking of Pope Francis, Fratelli Tutti was a most recent encyclical from him. All people possess an inherent dignity, and differing cultures are reflections of the richness of human life. Those are two of the takeaways from his latest encyclical, Fratelli Tutti. He wrote it in October. He signed it then after celebrating Mass at the tomb of St. Francis of Assisi in Umbria, Italy. His words speak of the importance of fraternity and social friendship. The Pope said that St. Francis inspired his writings, which detail how relationships can lead to peace.
I segni dei tempi mostrano chiaramente che la fraternità umana.
The signs of the times clearly show that human fraternity is one of the only ways toward complete development and peace.
Social fraternity and social friendships, Cardinal. I mean, why those two themes in this new encyclical?
Because what the Holy Father is saying is, if we don't base everything on our relationships with each other, then we're going to find some other means by which we're going to relate, maybe by just the economy or politics. We have to first of all relate to each other as human beings, as brothers and sisters, as the Holy Father is calling us to. Then everything else will fall into place. If we begin with that level of our social friendship and social relationships, then we'll make sure that we set ourselves on the right trajectory. And I think that it's a wonderful insight for us to keep in mind.
I mean, that's such a Catholic principle, isn't it, Cardinal? I mean, it's community, it's relationship, it's family.
Well, when Jesus came and proclaimed the kingdom of God, what did he do? He brought people together. He called disciples to join him. And he allowed them to see that their relationships with each other were the basis for the building of the kingdom of God.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Cardinal, just for our viewers, what can the average Catholic do to support the Pope's principles here?
Well, I think first of all to read it, and to read the encyclical bit by bit and to absorb it slowly. But also then maybe to examine themselves and how their relationships with other people might have been skewed by just relating to people in your own social group or your class or your economic group. But to see that we really do have relationships with people across all economic and political spectrums. And it's important for us, I think, to take this document and allow it to maybe be a cause of reflection in our own lives and how we relate to others.
We are all connected, right? Fratelli Tutti also helps support efforts to end systemic racism. The Catholic bishops of the United States recently issued a letter on racism called Open Wide Our Hearts. They stated there that racism can only end if we contend with the policies and institutional barriers that perpetuate and preserve the inequality, economic and social, that we see all around us. Cardinal, you had a chance to address that in a recent op-ed in the Chicago Tribune.
I did. In fact, it was in a moment when the racial tensions were heightening in our country and in our city. So I worked with a group of pastors in the African American community, and said, what is it that we can do together? How can our voice be heard? And calling people to a higher moral plane as we take up these issues dealing with racial inequality and economic disparity. And so that was an attempt to let people know that even though we come at our faith in different ways in different communities, we are united as religious leaders with a moral voice to challenge the city, challenge people to deal with the systemic institutional bigotry that we have in society.
You know, it's really something that each of us on an individual level, we all have to address that, right?
It is, and it starts with each individual person. That's why education is so important in this area, and why I have called for our schools and our religious education programs to take up the discussion on racism and also the inequality in society today. I think it's important for our young people to be taught that any kind of racial language or ways in which people are treated differently because of their background, race, or ethnicity is absolutely wrong and contrary to the gospel. We really can't preach the gospel if, in fact, those sentiments are in the hearts of people.
Indeed, indeed, the importance of teaching that to every young person. Cardinal, switching topics, but to something that is no less significant for the Church, is the Vatican published the results of its 2-year investigation into ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. He was defrocked in 2019 when a Vatican investigation found he sexually abused adults as well as children. Cardinal, can you share your thoughts and help us understand where we go from here?
Well, this document, this report, is a watershed for the life of the Church because it pulls back the curtain on the culture of clericalism that too long has divided the clergy from the laity. That, I think, is at the root of the situation we have here. And it's important for people to understand that the church leadership needs to exercise real responsibility in this moment, accountability and transparency. The Holy Father has given us a model to do that. He's holding people accountable, he's taking responsibility, and through this report showing us what transparency looks like. My hope would be that people would actually take their time to read this 450 massive document that details the trajectory of how he was able to rise to different positions, but who was involved and how decisions were made. I think it's very enlightening and a good insight into the kinds of things that now need to be corrected, and the Holy Father already has begun to make corrections.
And he himself, as you say, is so transparent, which is so important in all of this. You know, Pope Francis also this fall, he named 13 new cardinals, and one of them is a Chicago native. Archbishop of Washington, D.C., Wilton Gregory, will become the first African-American cardinal from the United States. He began his career here in Chicago. Well, Cardinal, we spoke with those who know him and members of his family.
None of us have been surprised at each of the promotions that he got. We all would shake our heads and say, yeah, that's right. My ordination class was the first group he taught after becoming a full-time faculty member at Mundelein Seminary. That's way back in the late 1970s. He was a talented man, but is more than just talent. I guess I would call it the pastoral sensibility that he brought to everything he did. Even though he was an excellent administrator, he always brought that sense of how does this connect to the main thing we do as a church, which is the parishes.
I'll share with you a story of when Wilton was little, and it was nighttime, and my mother said, baby, go and get the mop. And in those days, we kept the mop outside on the porch. And he said, I don't want to go there. You know, it's dark outside. My mother said, no, go and get the mop, because realize God is everywhere. So Wilton goes to the back door, cracks the door open, and says, and I quote, "God, pass me the mop." He's always been a sweet and a protective soul. He's always been a loving soul. And he's always been a person of deep faith. God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Our nation needs a healing. Our nation needs many voices to say we are all the children of God. We need to give each other the ability to celebrate who and what we are, where we come from, what we know, how we were raised. We need to realize that America is blessed with the children of every nation on this earth. That is such a gift. And we need people to say, celebration time, and Wilton is one of those people.
Cardinal, I think this is very exciting. You know, my first parish job was in Vicariate 6, where Bishop then, Wilton Gregory, was our vicar. This is really exciting.
Well, it is, and we're very proud of him. He surely has a distinguished career. He was one of the youngest bishops when he was made, I think in his mid-30s. He's been at it a long time and has shown such great leadership as the president of our conference, but in so many other different ways. As you look at all of the topics we discussed here, he has had his hand in moving the church forward, whether it's child protection or the issue of racism, whatever it may be. He has been at the forefront of leadership for the conference.
I think that's an excellent point, just in terms of how well then he will serve along with you as an advisor to the Pope.
Yes, exactly. And I think that he's an individual who not only has proven himself in so many different ways, but has won the respect of the bishops throughout this country, and that is why he's such an effective leader.
Well, our congratulations to Archbishop Wilton Gregory. Switching topics here, Cardinal. It was a tragedy that leveled Chicago, but it was a tragedy that also led to a rebirth of a city. Of course, we're speaking of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. However, what also emerged from the ashes were the anti-immigrant and anti-Catholic sentiments of that day. That led to Catherine O'Leary, an Irish immigrant, being blamed for the blaze. These themes are explored in a new documentary airing on WTTW and streaming on their website. It's called The Great Chicago Fire.
They're losing everything. Everything that they knew and had was going up in flames.
A disaster that brought Chicago to its knees.
Seem more relevant now than just about at any moment in our history.
The city was a landscape of utter devastation.
An immigrant who shouldered the blame.
There was real serious concerns about widespread immigration, in particular from Catholic countries such as Ireland and Italy.
Where Chamberlain saw pigsties, a young couple from Kerry, Ireland saw hope. Catherine and Patrick O'Leary lived at 137 DeCoven Street.
And there were concerns that these people were not going to integrate well into American society. The belief was because of their loyalty to the Pope that they just weren't going to be good Americans.
This was the house that my great-great-grandmother lived in. You can kind of get an idea of really how large it was for that time.
Though Catherine was illiterate, she ran a profitable dairy business. She enrolled 2 sons in Catholic school for the hefty sum of 50 cents a month.
In fact, Mrs. O'Leary had nothing to do with it, and yet because of these widespread prejudices against Irish immigrants, people continued to believe that she was responsible.
Because of their dedication to the church, Irish immigrants were eyed with suspicion by Chicago's Protestant elite.
The Irish were America's first urban ethnic underclass, because the whole idea, and maybe even ideal, of American identity is that anyone can come here and be an American. All you have to do is reject your home country, leave it behind, and then you're one of us. And Catholics were perceived as being unable to do that because of their loyalty to the Pope.
The widespread anti-immigrant sentiment of the time, which caused Mrs. O'Leary to be blamed of starting the fire, obviously we still see that today. Today maybe it's not Irish, it might be Mexican-American immigrants who are forced to prove their Americanness in the eyes of a hostile public.
Cardinal, that point was made there that anti-immigrant and anti-Catholic sentiments have been part of our country and even this city for years, for decades.
Yes, and it really does show the tendency sometimes in life, whenever tragedy happens, to scapegoat people and to blame others. Our heritage, however, shows that we're really better than that when we draw together and not do that kind of scapegoating. So I think we need to do that as well in this age with regard to the new immigrants.
Oh my gosh, to stand as a body, right, as the church against those, that's also been a part of our Chicago history, as you know.
Well, again, the echo of that sentiment is, as you mentioned earlier in the Pope's encyclical, we're all brothers and sisters. When we keep that in mind, I think that we're going to be, there's going to be less of a tendency to blame other people for things that happen, and to see that, in fact, when there's a tragedy, when there's a challenge, that the right response is that we all pull together and fix it and help each other.
And we continue to do that today. The Archdiocese Immigration Ministry, Pastoral Migratoria, has become a nationwide model. At their recent virtual fundraiser, Keep Hope Alive 2020, members heard from Sister Norma Pimentel. Sister Norma has been named one of Time magazine's 20 most influential people of 2020. Pastoral Migratoria has worked alongside her at the U.S. border with Mexico in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas.
I came to the United States in my mother's womb. When my parents decided to live in the United States, my mom was pregnant with me. It was my father's American dream that brings me to be here today. Living all my life at the border has given me the privilege and to be able to help the tens of thousands of immigrants coming to the border with hopes to live a more dignified life. I have seen the reality of immigrant life on the border up close. I have seen human suffering of so many innocent victims of crime at the border. I have also seen the devastating impact of policies that are causing human suffering to so many immigrant families. As Catholics, we must keep hope alive for the most vulnerable, those cast aside, those that find themselves displaced in strange lands, for the immigrant community. We can do this by accompaniment and leadership formation that Pastoral Migratoria provides.
Cardinal, immigration issues are in the forefront, and Sister Norma certainly deserved that recognition.
Well, you know, I know Sister Norma quite well because of the funding that she receives through Catholic Extension. The people of Chicago have been very supportive of her, and so we got to know her quite well. But you're right. I think that we have to remember, not only as a church but as a nation, we are a land of immigrants, and there's a vibrancy and vitality to our nation in so many different ways because of new immigrants coming to our land. And that has always been the case. That's our character. It's part of our DNA. And so we should never walk away from it, but embrace it and make sure that we keep hope alive, not only for them, but for our nation. Because it's when we reach out to other people that we have a tendency to think less of ourselves and inwardly. When we're generous with others, the best of us comes out.
Cardinal, I've heard you say often in regard to this topic, they bring their gifts, right, and add them to ours.
That's exactly right. I think if you look across the history of this country, every immigrant group has brought something new and fresh and really tapped into the ideals of this country, perhaps making us discover something that we overlooked or has grown latent. Yeah. They remind us who we are and that human dignity cuts across all backgrounds, races, and ethnicities.
It's certainly an issue we need to have in our forefront, and congratulations again to Sister Norma. To our viewers, we'll be right back with the story of a priest who didn't let the cancellation of the Chicago Marathon stop him in his tracks.
Chicago Catholic, in print or online, is your go-to source for news about the Catholic Church. In-depth coverage that stretches from Chicago to the Vatican, thought-provoking articles, including columns from Cardinal Blaise Cupich, photographs that inspire, reviews of movies, books, and TV columns. Go to ChicagoCatholic.com to subscribe. Be an informed Catholic. Subscribe to Chicago Catholic today.
Welcome back. COVID-19 has forced the cancellation of many events that included this year's Chicago Marathon. But Father Michael Bradley ran it anyways, hitting the streets of Edgewater and cheered on by parishioners from St. Gertrude's Church.
For me, running means an opportunity to be alone with my thoughts and prayers. It's an opportunity to clear my head a bit, and also a chance to see parts of the parish, the streets, the neighborhoods that I might not be familiar with. I ran my first marathon in 1995, totally without preparation, without proper equipment, but I just got into it, enjoyed it, and here I am. When I run in the Chicago Marathon, a number of parishioners do go down and meet me at various mile stops along the way and jump in and run for a while with me, and that's a great thing. But to have it in the community here where people can just leave their home and come out on the sidewalk and see me run by and offer a cheer, it's exciting for me. It's so supportive. It is very powerful. I just feel so blessed by the people, and it's a great motivator. Yay! I wear on my jersey Father Mike, and so people, even who don't know me, along the way, spectators cheer me on. Go Father Mike, etc. And so when some people realize that this guy running with them or near them is a priest, they want to talk. And a few times they pulled me aside and said, "Can I go to confession?" And I said, "Well, as long as it's not very long, as I don't want to have to make up the time. I don't want to lose time."
Cardinal, I've asked you this on air before. If you've run marathons before, you said you have. I have not. But watching that, that's pretty impressive for Father Michael.
Well, yes, he's not only a great athlete, but a wonderful priest. And you know, he's a major player in our tribunal with a degree in canon law. He really pulls his weight in so many different ways. And this is extra, it seems, but calling people's attention to the needs of other people, I think, is part of who he is.
And what a wonderful way to do it. That was fantastic. Cardinal, it's almost time to go. But before we do, we want to say thank you to our broadcast partners who are airing our Sunday Masses through the end of the year. ABC7 televises the English language Mass that you, Cardinal, celebrate at 9:30 Sunday morning. Univision carries our Spanish Mass at 10 a.m., and Polvision airs our Polish Mass every Sunday at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Again, thank you to them. And again, Cardinal, thank you to you for being with us today, with our viewers.
And thanks also to Wintrust that's sponsoring us on ABC.
Nice, nice. Thanks to them as well. Cardinal, thanks again so much for being with us. Thanks to our viewers. We'll see you next time on Catholic Chicago.
We invite you to watch segments of Catholic Chicago and hundreds of additional Catholic videos at youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.